Happy Monday, folks. Good afternoon. In today's video, we're talking about the latest Lions news and rumors, and we got some interesting news that came out in regard to two defensive players. We're going to break that whole thing down, and it's quite intriguing because they're actually going to be on the roster in 2026. We're going to break it all down, this little quirk that occurred due to the injuries and all of that. But before we get into today's video, if you think it's a sound and smart idea to never brush your teeth, go ahead and subscribe to my channel because we took all things Detroit Lions news and rumors. Sometimes being a Lions fan, you can have yuck mouth. Also, take that like button with you. Let that bad boy get clean. Let's get into today's Lions news. All right, folks, we have two defensive players that are going to be on the roster that we did not expect, and it's quite intriguing. So let's break this down for you. Levi Onwuzurike re-signed with the team last March just before free agency started. But before Onwuzurike could even practice in training camp, Lions coach Dan Campbell announced that Onwuzurike was out of the year with a torn ACL. The Lions opted to put him on physically unable to perform list, not on the injured reserve list. That distinction turns out to be critical because there is a stipulation in the CBA that a player who is on the final year of his contract and spends the entire season on the PUP list, they'll see their contract roll over to next year. In essence, Onwuzurike's contract was paused in 2025 and now will carry over to 2026. Quite interesting turn of events, especially with the interior of the defensive line. Now, we know that, look, he wasn't going to come back here if he was not going to be signed. So this changes it. This definitely changes the situation about it. Before we break it down why, let's get to 400 likes in this video. Just hit those like button. It does help out. Now let's get into it here. Because for Levi Onwuzurike, the contract that he's going to be having this year since it rolled over is a 1-year, $1.5 million deal. Essentially nothing. Nothing. That is the minimum. The absolute minimum. So for someone like me who I want players to, I don't want the Lions to risk giving out contracts to injured players. Well, there's no risk now. It's a $1.5 million deal. And look, I don't want injured players in this team, but there's absolutely no reason now for just let Levi Onwuzurike come back and fight it out in training camp. Give him one last try. It's $1.5 million deal. That's nothing. That's nothing. If he gets injured, oh well, he gets cut, right? Like, it's no big deal. It's literally like a practice squad type of contract. So I think this is great news for the Lions, but it's not just him. Tom Pelosaros, Lions defensive end Joshua Paschal also remains under contract due to a very similar rule. This time in regarding to non-football injury list, Article 20, Section 3, Part B. A player on the NFI who's in the final year of his contract, including an option year, will have his contract tallied over. However, the player physically able to perform his football services on or before the 6th regular season game, the club must pay the player's negotiated paragraph 5 salary pro rate for the balance of the season in order for such player contract. If such player is taken in the NFI list during this period, when such action is allowed by the league, his contract will not be told. So it's the same situation with Joshua Paschal. He didn't play at all this year. We thought he was going to come back at the end of September, and he didn't even play at all. So Paschal has an opportunity to do the same thing like Levi Onwuzurike and battle it out. And again, the contracts are going to be nothing for these two guys. Essentially the same thing. Okay. These are pee-wee contracts. This, from a financial standpoint, it does nothing. Absolutely nothing. And for what I see this, I think this is a great opportunity for both of these players. It's one more opportunity for Onwuzurike, who has seen his career largely deranged injury after missing the entire 2022 season and much of the 2023 season with back injury. Onwuzurike appeared to pull behind him and promising 2024 season. But ACL injury through his career, and then when it comes to Joshua Paschal, he got an undisclosed injury, dealing with injury that was recurring in training camp, that dealt throughout the whole season. So it gives them an opportunity. And look, Levi Onwuzurike was starting to look good before he got injured. He was on the rise. Joshua Paschal, I thought he was getting better, but it's hard to tell. He didn't play at all this past year, but from the previous year, we thought he was getting a little bit better. So it's giving these two one final opportunity to make this roster. The final opportunity for these guys to do it. You mess this up, it's done for those two. It's on them. Are you watching the Pro Bowl? I am not, but let me know your thoughts. Y for yes and N for no. The Detroit Lions got a lot of work to do on this defensive line, and that's a fact, right? We do got some players on this team right now. Now, these guys aren't under contract, and Al-Qadim Mohammed, DJ Rader, okay, Marcus Davenport. They're not under contract. But you have Aiden Hutchinson, Ali McNeil, Tyleek Williams. Lions need to get a pass rusher, right? So you put Joshua Paschal and Levi Onwuzurike in the mix. It'll give them another body, at least for training camp. That would be where those two missing are at. But the Lions may not be able to bring back Al-Qadim Mohammed. They may not be able to bring him back. Why? Because he's expensive. I mean, we're hearing potentially a contract of, I'm hearing $10 million a year. I heard a $7.5 million a year for Mohammed. We've heard multiples. So we don't know exactly how that's gonna pan out. So you do need to have some other bodies there. So it'll be really intriguing to see how this is going to play out going forward, because this defensive line is important. Extremely important. And if Mohammed can't make it, if he does not come back, we have a hole at edge just for him not being there. Marcus Davenport's not going to be there. Your pass rushers is Aiden Hutchinson, Joshua Paschal, then Tyrus Wheat. They got to do a better job, man. You just can't go into the season with that minimal amount of talent on the defensive line. So they got some work to do, but you know, having Levi, who does interior, now they did push him a little bit outside, and they were actually expecting him to play this year, and it didn't happen. And Joshua Paschal, who's their big edge, who's supposed to be, right? He was supposed to build up to be opposite of Aiden Hutchinson, just as it happened due to injury. The Lions should not rely on them. This is how I think it should go, and I want you guys to give me your thoughts in the comments. The Lions should not rely on Levi and Joshua Paschal at all. They should look at those two as just if they're able to. But they should go into this offseason right now when they do free agency and they do the draft, not relying on them two. You can't. Feel like, you know what, we're good. You know, because we got, you know, Paschal and Levi here, so you know for a fact that those two have not been able to stay healthy ever. So as much as we're, you know, it's cool that they got a small contract, they're able to compete to see if they can even make the team this year. We were looking at the situation, they were going to bring him back before this report came out. Hell no. If they didn't have a contract, I wasn't seeing them coming back. Lions got a lot of decisions to make, and this defensive line is going to be important for that. It's got to be the most important thing. You know, we got to get to the quarterback. You have to do that. You've seen it in this year's playoffs. What is doing it, folks. Pass rush. What have we been talking about? Pass rush, defensive line, pressures. Brad Holmes has got to make sure we have able bodies on the defensive line that's not injured. Get the job done. Don't rely on those two. Hopefully, right? We all hope. It's like Marcus Davenport. You can't rely on it, right? You just cannot rely on it. You hope. But this organization, with this news coming out, cannot just say, we're good, and we'll just take another developmental guy, or we'll take a pass rusher in the 7th round. No. Can't do it no more. The Lions got to think differently at this point. You've got to really build up this defensive line with players that are able-bodied to do it. And if Levi and Joshua Paschal can't stay healthy in minicamp and training camp, you just cut them. Cut. We have to have people on the field. You've got to make this defensive line built like the freaking Wall of China, the Great Wall of China, that nobody can get past. Stop the run and have a defensive line that can attack a quarterback like an asteroid hitting the planet. Okay? That's what we want. So it's good news, though. It really is good news, guys. And I know a lot of you is like, these are, it's minimal contracts. So I'm never going to complain about something like that. We'll see how they go. With that said, folks, adios.